In this tutorial, you will learn about the command line runner interface in Spring Boot. Command line runner is an interface in Spring Boot. When a class implements this interface, Spring Boot will automatically run its run method. It has a run method. After loading the application context, usually we use this command line runner to perform startup tasks like database initialization, seeding, or other startup activities. What you will learn in this tutorial: you will learn implementing command line runner in Spring Boot application class, command line runner in stereotype annotated class, command line runner as admin annotated in configuration class, implementing multiple command line runner. Okay, here we have a newly initialized Spring Boot project. You can see we have the main class, which is the Spring Boot application class. So when we implement the command line runner interface in this class, it will call the run method of the command line runner interface before the main method finish execution, after the Spring application load all its context, finish loading the context. So we need a logger to monitor this before even having to implement the command line runner interface. So we'll start with the private static logger equal to logger.getLogger. So we'll have the get logger. Here we have root application dot class dot get name. Okay, so now we will know when it started and when it finished. That is when the main method start the execution and when it finish. Okay, so let's have the logger dot info. We'll have like started and finish. So let's have finish here. Finish. That indicate the start of the, that is, execution of the main method and when it is finished. So let's implement the command line runner interface. Implement command line runner interface. Okay, we have the run method. So let's indicate that the run method is called. The run method is called. Okay, so that run method will call immediately after the Spring Boot application finish loading its context, but before the finishing of the main method execution. So let's try to print this in the console. We can see run this project. So here we have the main method started and started the execution. So you can see when, okay, so here we have the main method finish the execution, but you can see the run method that we have is called before the main method finish the execution. Okay, so let's try to implement the command line runner in stereotype annotated class. Okay. Okay, now let's implement the command line runner interface in stereotype annotated class. So let's create a new class and call it application runner. So, and we'll have to annotate this with a component or something like add service. That is all a stereotype annotation. So, and this class will implement the command line runner interface. Okay, and let's implement this run method. So we'll still need a logger here, private logger. Here it is, logger, and let's call the logger here. That is, let's print the info, and we'll have something like the run method is called. Okay, to differentiate between the first one that we have here and the second one, let's just remove the message so that we can know when it is called. Okay, so now let's run this. Okay, here it is called. You can see that is from the application runner. Here is the run method is called, and the main method finish it execution. Okay, that is it. And what we will going to do next is we will implement using the admin annotation in a config class. So let's do this. Okay, now let's create a configuration class. For this we need a new package and call this config. So let's create a new class and call this app config. So we will annotate this with add configuration. We need the add configuration here. So, and let's define a bin method. So we'll start with the add bin, and we need to have public command line runner, and we will return. So we will return the app. So let's have, that is the implementation here. So within this we will print what we need. So let's have a logger, private logger equal to logger.get logger. This is app config.class.get name. Okay, so we have this, and the next thing, let's print something here, logger.info, and this info, I will say this is a config class, and the run method is called. Okay, so let's save these changes and rerun this application. So you can see we have the app config. Okay, here is the app config, and this is a config class, and the run method is called. But you can see we have the run method is called also from the application runner. So the order of these matters. So sometimes we need a run method, another one to be called before the other one. So here is where we will use the order. So we will see this in the next. Dealing with multiple command line runner, we need to have order, because sometimes we need to know which run method will be called first before the order. So here we need to remove all these. We will not longer use this. Let me remove the config class, and as well we need to remove the application runner class or remove this implementation, because we will use it later for the initialization, database initialization. So let me remove this and just leave it empty like this. For this, we also need to remove all these, and we will define some new bin, and let me remove this as well. So on this as well. Okay, so now no class implement the command line runner interface. Now we will define new 3 classes that implement the command line runner that have the stereotype annotation. So let's have class and call this bin A. So we need another class, new class, bin B, and we also need another class, new class, bin C. Okay, that is, so this will have the first one. Let's annotate this with add component and implement the command line runner. Command line runner, and let's implement the run method. So we need a private logger equal to logger.get logger, that is bin A dot class dot get name. So, and we need to have info like logger dot info bin A. Okay, so let's have this in the other class, bin B. We need to annotate this with add component, and it will implement the command line runner interface. So, and let's paste this and just have the changes, bin B, and we need to change this to bin B class. Okay, that is the changes that we need to do here. Save it and go to the C. Let's annotate this with add component, and we need to implement the command line runner. Here is the command line runner, and let's have this. So we need to change this to bin C, and we have this as bin C as well. So you can see the order of these methods. When we run, it doesn't run it in order like A, B, C. So we need to define this order. First, let's test this, and we will see how it works. Okay, you can see we have A, then C, then B. So there are times when we need the order. Maybe we want A to be called, then B, then C. So let's do this. We just go to the A and have the add order and set this order to 1. Go to the B and we need to have order. Then we'll have something 2 like this, and we need to go to the order again, add order in the C, and define these 3. Okay, so A, B, C, you can see. So now when we run, it will first call the A, then B, then C. So let's rerun this application. So you can see we have it in order. It is called A, then B, then C. Okay, the next thing we will do is we will have the database initialization using the command line runner. Okay, in this section we will have to initialize the database with values using the command line runner. So first, we don't need this bin A to C that we define. Okay, let's delete this. So you can see we have a model of student. We have already have this the MySQL configuration, and you can check for this tutorial in this channel, that is CRUD application. First, let's go to the source. You can see we have the application.properties. So it connects us to the database, student database. You can see here is empty. So now, and here inside the student, we have this, we override the toString method. Okay, now let's go to the application runner and then implement again the command line runner interface. So it's fine now. So what we will do, we need a logger again, logger equal to logger dot get logger application runner dot class dot get name. Okay, so we also need the repository which we will use to communicate with the database. We need to annotate it with @authorhead, then private, and that is student repository. Here it is, student repository. Okay, so now let's try to save data in the database. So here we will use the save method. So student repository, we have the save method, so we can use this to save, and we need a new student and pass the values, new student, so followed by the values. So let's check the student. We have name, department, then level. Here it is. So let's go back to our application runner. We have the mathematics, department, and level. I will add 100 level. So when we run, it will save this in the database. Okay, so let's use the iterable to fetch this data and log it here. Logger dot get logger, sorry, logger dot info, and we'll call this student data. So plus, then we call the student repository dot find all. Okay, remember before running this we need to annotate this with @component so that it will be added to the Spring container and Spring will use it. So let's save these changes and then we run this application. Okay, so we have this, and you can see student data 552, the ID, name Aliyu, and mathematics. You can see we fetch the data after saving this data. So let's check the database to see. Here is my SQL workbench, and you can see the data that we just saved. Okay, that is how we use the command line runner for the database initialization, and you will find the CRUD application tutorial on this channel. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.